Welcome back, everybody, to The Christian View, and we're here today with Beth Bacall from 104.7 The Fish, and we're so glad to have you today. And we just heard her amazing story about overcoming open heart surgery, but you know what? There's more that we heard about, a story that recently happened with her daughter, and an amazing story that happened to you as a parent. I don't know how you get through it. Can you share with us a little bit about what just happened?
Man, I want to first just preface this by saying I'm going to talk about something that happened in Roswell. And it did happen with the police department. And this isn't me saying anything negative. It's just what happened with the story. Okay, so I just want to preface that because I need to say that. And but looking back on how God just folded through every piece of the story is. I got that call at 4 in the morning. Mom, you've got to come to the Roswell jail. I'm in jail and I need $4,000 bail. This is from my 25-year-old daughter, Haley. And she's a good girl. I mean, there's no former priors, you know? I'm like, and you're just laying there going, why? And she's like, so I go down to the Roswell jail, but I did not bring $4,000 because it was 4 o'clock. You know, I'm thinking, let me go see what's up. Right. She had a tail light out. She was driving home from work actually at 11:30 at night. They pulled her over, and they said she had a suspended license. Cut it back to December. She had received a violation for being in the HOV lane and moving over in Buckhead, and I remember when that happened, I'm like, pay that ticket. And she did. 2 weeks it took to post. I mean, I remember the story. And so I get down there, I'm like, what's going on? It's 4 in the morning, my kid's in here. They said, well, she's got a suspended license, and we pulled her over for the tail light, and we found out she has a suspended license in Atlanta. She gets pulled in Roswell, suspended license in Atlanta, okay? So I'm like, well, no, that was cleared. Well, unless you can, you know, have a judge prove it, she's staying here. I'm like, well, she needs her diabetic materials because she's type 1 juvenile diabetic and she's got lupus, so she needs her medicines. You cannot give her any of that right now. I'm like, wow. So, so the next morning, I'm like, where am I going to find $4,000 and a lawyer, you know, at 6 a.m. on a Sunday morning? Aren't they all going to...
No, you can find them.
I know, actually. I told them there. I was thinking I probably should have known you a little better then. So I text my realtor. Her name is... Cindy, and she is amazing with Solid Source Realty. And I just texted her, I said, I need a lawyer, you know? And so she knew a man named Steve Beecham who knew the judge in Roswell, who actually had seen my daughter that morning. This is a little later on Sunday morning. And the judge told Steve, this kid doesn't belong in here. You got to get her out. Have the mother call this lawyer, Matt Kilgo. And I was like, okay. So it's like Sunday lunchtime, and I call Matt. And he's working on a Sunday, thank you, God.
Yes.
And Matt kind of talks to the judge and says, you know what, we can't do anything about this until tomorrow when we can go see the judge in Atlanta. And I'm like, well, he goes, but you can't bail her out. You have to keep her in the Roswell jail because if you take her out, they're going to just send her to Atlanta because the warrant is out in Atlanta. And I'm like, well, really? I said, well, she's diabetic. Can I, you know, play the medical card? She needs to get out of there. They're like, don't. It'll keep her in longer. And the only way she could communicate with me is if I called her. And she'd be she was in a single cell with like no food, and she was there all through a Saturday night, which a lot of other people were too. And
it was a nightmare.
It was really, at first you're like, wow. So Sunday was not fun, and I'd go down there with medicine, and they'd be like, you cannot give that to her. And I said, wow, okay.
That's amazing.
So the plan was the next morning the lawyer was going to go to Atlanta to show the judge, look, this is paid, this is happening, let her out. He goes to the judge that morning, and the judge says, I want to see her. No, we've had too many cases like this. I want to see her. And so the lawyer's like, you're going to have to bail her out and bring her to Atlanta and put her in the Atlanta jail system. And I'm like, well, then I'm going to have to go do something that'll put me in that jail with her. Because
she's about to do it to these people at the jail.
She's not going to last, you know? And he's like, well, I know some people in the, let me see, there was a few little extra. I know this guy, the person, let me check with this, let me check with prosecutor, let me check with this. So at this point, I'm going to work because I really didn't think this was all going to keep spiraling. They even said, this is turned into the worst worst case scenario of something that should have been a good case scenario. So I'm like, well, I'm gonna go to work. So I'm kind of on my way to work because I thought she'd be out. I really didn't know why she was in. I find out it's low-hanging fruit. If you have a tail light out or a light out, it's like 11:30 at night, please get your car fixed first. They were just looking for low-hanging fruit, and they found it. But they made her leave her diabetic monitor in the car. They wouldn't let her take it with her. And so that's a whole other show. So I get to work, and I'm looking at my boss. I'm like, I don't think I'm going to be on the radio today. And I said, I just want to give you a tiny little taste of what's happening with me because it's way too much. And he goes, well, a couple floors down is that guy you always call Sherman Hemsley. There's this guy in our work, and he's like he just always in the elevator, always with his little bow tie. You got competition. You know? And he's always in there, and I hear the music, and he's just styling and happy, and I'm like, hey, Sherman Hemsley, what's up? And he's like, nothing, you know, we're good, you know. But he happens to be one of the biggest lawyers in Atlanta, Jackie, so I go down to see Jackie. So I go to knock on his door, but he's not there. And I'm like, Beth, the last thing you need to be is an emotional mother. You need to be a strategic thinker. So I send Jackie this bullet point of everything that happened, a lot of things I haven't told you. And he's like, I just want to know if I was working right, working smart. And he's like, you are. I said, okay. What do I do? And no, he calls me. I do the email and I send it. And like 3 minutes later, Jackie calls. And I'm like, he goes, everything you're doing is right. All these people are good. I said, can I do anything? He would. If it was my daughter in the Roswell jail, I'd make sure the Roswell mayor knew what was happening with my daughter. I was like, well, I said, okay. But he said, don't go on. They all said, don't go on the radio with this because it might keep her in longer. Because I was like, I'm going to take this to the radio because I know somebody out there could help me. But I didn't. I never said this is Beth Bacall from the fish. No, that wasn't what this was about.
You could have.
Yes, you could have.
No.
I just didn't think that was going to help.
But sometimes that goes against you.
Yeah,
God come through. I'm sitting on the end of my seat.
I'm kidding. I know. I'm so sorry this is so long because it's like a minute left. He did. So I quick go online. I'm like, who's the Roswell mayor again? Because I messed up. And then who's his assistant? And it was this woman. And I called her and I said, hey, my name is Beth. My daughter's in your jail. Here's why. Can I talk to the mayor? And she's like, what? And I'm like, really? This is what's happening. I'm telling you the truth. So 5 minutes later, the clerk calls, and he's like, can you give us this information, And all of a sudden, I just hear papers flying and people on phones going, why is she in the jail, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, you got to answer the phone when we call you back. And I'm like, but I'm on the radio. You don't understand if I don't answer. And she's like, just answer the phone. So she never calls back. 20 minutes later, my lawyer calls, and he's like, I'm on the way to the Atlanta jail to pay a $32 fine that they think your daughter owes for a suspended license. Wow. You can bail her out tonight when you get off the air. Who do you know?
Wow. God.
I said, I know Jesus. I said, I know God.
That's that. That's good. Stay with us. We're coming right back. That's awesome, Beth.